Okay, welcome to this meeting of the Board of Park Commissioners of the City of Troy. It's Tuesday, August 4th. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cappers?
Here.
Mr. Phillips?
Here.
Mrs. Pierce?
Okay, we have the minutes for our June 2nd meeting and our July 7th special meeting to review. They've been given to us prior to this meeting for review. Are there any additions, corrections, or deletions to those minutes? Why don't we take both of them at the same time? Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
I second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? They stand accepted. Jeremy happens to be on vacation. Fortunately or unfortunately, we let him do that on occasion. And so he has submitted his reports. Mr. Seiler, do you have anything to add to your report that you gave us?
Just that over the last couple weeks, things have been looking up for attendance at the pool finally. The weather turned, so we are just about in line currently with where we were last year on daily admission revenues. Not that that's a great thing. Last year was not a great summer, but at least we're on track with where we were last year because we were lagging even behind last year's numbers. So the last couple weeks have helped us to get back to that. And we're just hoping that it continues here through the next couple weeks until the kids go back to school. And we're just continuing to work on several more events for the remaining part of 2015. And we're continuing to work with the architects with regard to the design on the renovation and expansion of the arena. And we hope to have something here in the next couple weeks with regard to that for you and City Council.
Good, great. Hey, does the municipal pool have a swim team? It does it not?
We do have a swim team.
Who do they
This year
swim?
we had 99 participants.
Oh, great. And who do they swim against? Who do they compete against? What cities?
They participate as part of the 5Cs League, which is Minster, Versailles, Botkins, Bellefontaine, Tip City, and Troy.
Oh, there you go. Okay, good, thank you. Any questions of Mr. Seiler?
No.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
Mr. Green, good morning.
Good morning.
How's the golf course doing?
Well, a lot better now, like he says, the last couple of weeks been better.
The rain's been heck on both programs, hasn't it?
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
So do you have anything to add to your report?
Just an update on as you know, in the irrigation system, we were blowing some O-rings out. And
Right.
we did have that repaired. We found another company that did it for approximately $5,500 less. So we got that repaired. And while they were in there, we also had them put a camera down in there to check everything else that was down there to make sure that everything was okay.
Yeah.
While we were at it, all dug up, and everything looked real good, so we didn't have to spend any more money other than having them do the testing to make sure that everything was okay in there.
How far down did the camera go?
It went all the way down to where the pump is, which is about, I think it's about 25, 30 feet down.
Oh,
So
okay.
right before it goes into the aquifer there. But
If we ever have to replace that pump, what do we do?
well, we already replaced the pump.
Yeah, if we have to go down 25 feet to replace it?
Yeah, because it goes down into that well, and it's at the bottom of the well. That's what draws the water
Yeah.
up. But
Okay.
that has been replaced a couple years ago, as you know, we had some problems with that.
And you've given us the snack bar report.
Correct.
Thank you very much for doing that.
Oh, you're quite
It's
welcome.
always nice to see whether or not it's making a profit or not.
We've always been very fortunate there, that it's always made money.
Yeah,
And since I've been here, it has not lost 1 year.
okay. The beverages, did we have any feeling for whether or not the beverages or the snack bar sales, whether a lot of it's in the alcohol and beer area or?
Well, a lot of it is in the alcohol.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, but it's mostly food, though.
yeah,
The food is the biggest.
okay.
You know, we're fortunate that we're getting quite a bit off the bike path now.
Are we?
Oh, yeah, we get quite a bit. We get people in there every day off the bike path. And we have large groups sometimes that call us ahead of time, and we prepare their food ahead of time, and they stop off there. We have a large group from Springfield that comes in with around 30 to 40 people, at least 2 or 3 times a year, and probably spend, close to $150 to $200 when they come in. So,
You know, we hired you as the golf professional.
Right.
The golfing operations. And I certainly don't expect this to be a world-class snack bar, but anything you can do as the director of operations out there at the golf course to market this to bicycling groups or enthusiasts and things like that would be a
And
great
we
thing.
do, I mean, not only do I put it on Facebook now, but we also have signs out there on the bike path telling them that they're more than welcome. There's a snack bar in there for food and drink. And I think that's probably why we get so many. In fact, a lot of them that come from the Dayton area and don't even know that the golf course is there, you know, just because they've never been up this way. And we've actually gotten, you know, over the years, probably, I would say 30 people like golf there that didn't know about it.
Huh.
So it helps that way too. But the snack bar, I wish we had a real good count of what we get from the bike path, but there's no way of really
Yeah.
keeping track of that. But I mean, every day we get people in there, and some of them eat, some of them drink. You know.
Is there, for lack of a better word, is there an exit ramp off the bike path down to our area, or how do they gain
Well,
access?
they come right in off the parking lot area there.
Okay, so there's.
Yeah, it's level with that, it's all paved, so they can ride up. Plus, we have a bicycle rack right in front of our snack bar door in the front,
Cool.
so they can park their bikes in there, you know.
Good.
So it worked out real good.
Any other questions of Mr. Green?
Yeah.
Good, Jim. Okay.
Yeah, and I have one other thing, I didn't give you any paperwork on this because I just got it from Mike, but our rough mowing that we have done every year, he has agreed to continue that if we would like at the same price
Oh,
for the
good.
next 3 years.
Wow.
So, you know, this is something that we just renewed last year and the year before. We didn't write up a new contract, but if you want a new contract written up, we can have that signed because it's just basically the same price. We're not going up any at all. And it's because of the gas prices.
Yeah. Well, I would make a motion to go ahead and have such a contract approved, to go ahead and bind that up for the next 3 years.
Okay. So I'll have it ready for the next meeting then, and then you guys can sign off
All those in favor? Aye. Any of the details concerning the contract? Okay. Good. Ken, anything else?
on it. That's it.
Super. Any other questions for Ken? No, thank you. I don't have any report from the planning commission side. The next matter of new business is the water tower and carriage crossing point. Jill, Christie, who wants to lead the discussion?
I can lead it. So what I have up here is an aerial, and actually what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut to the chase of, we analyzed several properties on the west side of Troy, and just to get everybody's bearings.
Let me back you up just a minute.
Yeah, that's-
Just play dumb for us.
Okay,
Tell
that's
us
fine.
Why we need a new.
Okay,
water tower.
okay. Well, I didn't know if you wanted that whole,
Yeah,
so,
let's
okay.
start with that.
Okay, so essentially, the city of Troy went out for water master plan and update in 2013. And as part of that water master plan update, I'll actually zoom out. They identified the extra high service area, which is this blue area right here, does not have a water tower currently. It's actually boosted from the yellow. It's boosted right here. There's a pump station. Due to fire flow and issues like that, and potential expansion to the west, and so to help you guys get your bearings, this is West Main, and then here's 75. Here is Experiment Farm, and then there's South Stanfield. So like this is Meyer. So this, to help with fire flow, with future expansion, as well as solving some other issues in other areas of the city, we were looking at a tower, an elevated water tower. And so we started looking for the extra high service area, I should say that. So we started looking in the existing and what the future potential extra high service area is. So you can see, if I zoom out one more, you can see here's the proposed area, the light gray, and then here is the existing. The blue is the extra high service existing. So we started reaching out to customers. Customers along, here's West Stanfield, so customers along West Stanfield. Here's Washington, so customers along, or not customers, residents, property owners along Washington. And also other areas in here that are empty, that are lots that are empty. And we started reaching out to these property owners, and either they weren't interested or it didn't make sense economically. So what we ended up with were two sites. We ended up with a potential site up here, up at Carriage Crossing Park, and then a site right here, which is just south of King's Chapel, which is owned by an industrial developer here. It's an undeveloped site, and so we began to talk to both, or we began to analyze a little bit further both areas from the engineering standpoint. From the analysis, from analyzing both these sites, they both operate relatively similar. Actually where my pointer is right there is actually a good pointer right there. That's the one proposed site. That was going to come at a cost to the city, and be adjacent to residents, similar to the Carriage Crossing Park is going to be adjacent to residents. So the next step was that so like I said, we analyzed it. They both operate the same. From a financial standpoint, we are asking Park to give their blessing on the Carriage Crossing. So let me zoom into that. So as you can see, just to get your bearings here, this is F&P. This is the Carriage Crossing development. Here's Corporate Drive, and here's Carriage Crossing Way, and then Parkwood Drive. So then we started looking just specifically at this park, and we had 3 different proposed site locations. We originally started putting a tank here, a tower here, right in the middle of the park. The second, another option was on the northern side of the park, and the third is as far south as we can get it on the south side of the park. After talking to Al Cappers, he recommended that we get as far south as possible, so we are going to go back to the engineer. The limitation on getting so far south currently right now is that this is an existing stormwater detention area for the Carriage Crossing development, but we're going to look into that a little further, and he recommended that we go as far south on the park site as possible so that it would not interrupt any of the activities, any Pee-wee football or anything like that.
There's a couple, I'm just going to interrupt.
Yeah,
for a minute.
yeah.
Is this thing here?
Do you want mine?
Yeah, if you don't mind,
Yeah.
just so I can show Stan.
Yeah.
And how do I work it?
Upper left.
Do I need to keep it pressed?
Yes.
Okay. Stan, this is the current water pond that's out there at Carriage Crossing.
Yes.
Okay. Next to it, there's a detention pond, which is a dugout area.
Yeah.
So that if there's an overflow, the water can go into here. Right now, they were proposing 3 different spots. One was back in here in the middle, which would have been right in the way of a lot of our playground area. This area here is in the way of Pee-wee football when it comes into practice. And it would have caused a lot more of an expense because of the run that they would have had to make in the water line from this area down here, which is the street. If they were to put it in this area, it would be less expensive. They could actually take it right off this road rather than going through the subdivision in the construction area. The difficulty is putting it right in a retention pond. Now, the retention pond's all about capacity, and what the engineers can take a look at is if they put it in the detention pond, they'll have to build up a base, number one, which decreases the capacity. We can't decrease the capacity, so what would have to happen is we'd either have to enlarge the retention area or dig it down further so it would go ahead and maintain the same capacity. But if that's the case, we could...
Capacity or pressure?
Capacity. The capacity of the retention pond, not the water tower.
Okay.
Okay, because there's a retention pond here. My whole purpose is, let's keep as much playground area as we can. We can't use the retention pond as playground area. So if they were to use the retention pond area for the water tower, we're not losing anything, okay? They would have a less of a run, a less expensive run for the water line because they could go ahead and get right into here. And at the same time, we don't lose any playground space. So that's what is on tap right now. If that's not possible, then they have to move it back up here a little bit outside the retention area and closer to the playground. It'll be a fenced-in area. It would have a gravel or asphalt parkway here, and they're talking about maybe adding some more parking area to our park area.
Potentially, if we don't come off of Corporate Drive.
Yeah, and we're saving so much money by letting them do this that we're going to get our bathroom in Archer Park, right?
No comment.
This is on, we're on air.
Our site is Carriage Crossing Park.
So anyway, that's the proposal right there. Okay. So Stan, did you have any questions of Jill or Christie?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Can you give us an idea? Now, there's a tower near Stansfield Road, is there?
Stanfield, there is a tower near Stanfield Road.
Okay. Would this proposed new tower be similar in design and appearance?
Yes, it would be taller, but it would be similar in design and appearance.
Okay. And as far as how much space is required for fencing, et cetera?
Yeah, so for construction is about 1.5 acres, 1 to 2 acres. After that, the fencing is going to be, I'm going to say less than probably a 1/2 acre. Now, when maintenance of the tank is required, then they would go back to needing that kind of acre, acre and a half, depending on if they were coating it or something like that. These tanks, actually, we have a contract right now, an annual tank maintenance contract on all of our tanks. We have 3 tanks in the city existing now, and actually they maintain an additional tank on top of our water treatment plant.
Now, of all the tanks that we have, you say we have 3, none of them are relatively close to residential areas, are they?
Hurlinger. Hurlinger is right inside, and actually Barnhart as well. Barnhart Road tank is just north. Let me go down there a little bit. This is Barnhart tank, and so this is all residential.
Okay. The reason I ask is security issues, kids wanting to climb fences, et
Right,
cetera.
and that's one of the reasons we would put, and we would also, we're also talking about having cameras out there as well. So we'd put the fence around the tank so that they couldn't get to anything, and then we would also have cameras that the water treatment plant would monitor.
Is there any noise issues when water is pumping, et cetera?
No, and in fact, there's no pumping going on at this. It's just it's a fill and a,
It's gravity?
yeah. So the pump is at a different location along Experiment Farm, so there is no noise associated with that. Good
Okay.
question.
What's nice about this location too is if they can put it up towards the street farther, it's buttoned up against the manufacturing zone and the street, and it's as far as away from the residential area, I think is pretty good.
Now, from a physical point, is this, from an engineering point, that location versus the one you alluded to further
Yeah.
East, I guess,
South?
or south?
Yeah.
The one we're talking about now, that is more efficient, if you will, and cheaper?
Yes, cheaper. And when we actually looked at the operation of both proposed locations, from an engineering hydraulic standpoint, they operated the same. And so this is actually a cheaper site because the city owns the property.
Right. Do we have any idea if you put it in the other location, what the acquisition cost would be for the property?
Yeah, we were looking at approximately 100,000+.
Okay.
That's our bathroom in Archer Park.
Okay.
We are talking about Carriage Crossing.
So with that location, it would appear to me that it would have minimal impact on during the construction process as far as interfering with the day-to-day activity of the people that live in that area.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Especially if we can take the truck traffic off of Forward Drive instead of Carriage Crossing.
Yes, and we've discussed, we'll be discussing with our engineer actually having potentially a temporary, seeing if they can create a temporary construction access, if not permanent, off of Corporate Drive, so that we don't have to worry about going through the residential area.
Yeah. The only problem if we can put this in the retention basin, the generator would have to be outside the retention basin. because of the water
I'm not
capacity.
sure I understand the impact of the retention basis versus the tower.
Well, the retention basin we can't use for our property, basically, and we can't put play fields in there or anything like
Right.
that. The retention basin, the purpose of it is to retain water so it doesn't spill out into
Sure.
the neighborhood if it goes over that detention pond, okay?
Okay.
So we'd like to be able to get multitask and use that for another purpose if we can. And if we put the tower there, if the retention basin has a lower level here because we need to retain water, and they put the tower in, they're gonna have a base, and they're gonna have some fill in there to put the water tower on, which means that we either have to enlarge the retention basin or dig it down further so that we go ahead and retain the water if the pond ever overflows. So that's what we're proposing, or I would propose.
Okay. What is the estimated time element as far as construction is concerned?
So once the site is chosen and finalized, and hopefully we're looking to get that today from Park so that we can proceed with design. So design would occur in the next couple months. It would go to bid later this fall, and then it would start construction at the beginning of 16. Then construction to get the tank up and coated would take about a year and a half.
Okay.
So it wouldn't be done until the middle of 17.
If we approve, what is the procedure as far as notifying the residents in that area?
So we've actually discussed just prior with administration that we would have a public hearing, kind of, not really public hearing, I guess I would call it an open house. So we were going to notify the residents that are directly affected along the adjacent property, as well as some of the other homeowner associations. And then we would have an open house where they could come. We would maybe have a 5-minute presentation, but then they could essentially ask their questions.
As far as the physical service area that would be increased by this location.
Yeah, let me zoom out
It
here.
would be substantial, can I assume?
Yes, so currently and for several years, so currently this is the existing extra high service area. So if I get my laser out here, so this is Carriage Crossing. This is all of Corporate Drive, like I had mentioned, I think before, F&P. This is King's Chapel, so that's existing. With the addition of the water tower, what we plan to do is then so here's Myers and Lowe's, and expand our extra high service area down to, here's Stonebridge Meadows, here's State Route 718, here's Concord Elementary School, and then Stonebridge and South Stanfield, and trying to think of some of the other subdivisions, Willow Creek,
Westlake in there.
Westlake, I think's in there. Yeah, then also down here's Commerce Center Boulevard. So down Commerce Center, just south of Honda, because that's Honda right there.
So what you're saying is if the new service is at that location at the park, you'd be able to
Yep.
further expand the southern portion and relieve the
Some of their
water
pressure
transmission
constraints.
to the other location.
Yes, and then also setting us up for future expansion west. So here's Washington Road. Yeah.
Let me explain something else to you. There is a debate among some of the city fathers as to where we go from here, okay? The Board of Park Commissioners, by our ordinance, has the responsibility for the maintenance control and responsibility over the real property and all the improvements in buildings along with the fixtures permanently affixed to such improvements in buildings located in the parks of the city, okay? Now, what does the term responsibility mean? This park happens to be in the name of the Board of Park Commissioners, so are we responsible for approving this, or is it city council? So there's a debate. It's not really set up forth out real clearly in our ordinance, so
If I may.
I'm looking, we have an opinion by our law director, however, that the city council is the approving authority we recommend. I don't share that opinion. I think that this board should approve the idea of a water tower and carriage crossing and the location, and then we recommend as well to city council so all our bases are covered. So, do you have any other questions of Jill or Christie concerning this?
Not at this time.
Okay. I would then make a motion that we approve the water tower in the southern portion of Carriage Crossing using the retention basin and recommending such to council.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
The only other thing, can I assume that as we progress, you would keep us up to date of irregularities or other problems that would occur?
Yeah. Yes, most
And
certainly.
if your engineering finds out that we can't use that retention area, you come back to us and let us know so we can give you another approval or recommendation.
Okay, so even if we just move closer to the park area,
If you're
that,
outside the retention basin, we need to know about it.
okay,
Because we need a further approval, because the approval you're getting today is for the use of the retention basin in that park.
okay,
Except for, we understand the electrical has to be outside, of course.
okay.
Okay? Okay, let's call the roll.
Mr. Cappers?
Yes.
Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Okay, you have the approval in the retention basin. If it's outside the retention basin, we need to start.
Thank you.
All right?
Mhm.
Okay. Anything else to come before the board? Sue, do you have anything from the mayor's office or the Serve Safety Director's office we need to address? Okay, thank you. And she called me sir, isn't that nice? Okay, anything else for discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We stand adjourned. Thank you.